The way Jesus led had nothing to do with being dominant. Most Christian men, I think, confuse the two. So we started the series with a father wound, right? So this is the last of 4 episodes. We started with the father wound, then we talked about anger versus conviction,
Right.
what the wound does to our emotions.
Yeah.
And then we went from there to last time in this series, control versus responsibility,
Yeah.
taking up a responsibility rather than dominating
Kind of what that
with
wound
control.
does to your behavior.
Yeah, that's how the behavior, the emotions start playing themselves out. So today, what we haven't said yet, and it's new in this episode, the wound doesn't just make you angry, it can make you controlling.
This is kind of what I think ties this all together.
Yeah.
Right. It kind of brings this series to its natural close, I think.
And it makes sense. If there was a wound, you want to kind of protect yourself and put up walls and control the environment to prevent further wounding. Yeah. That's a natural human response to a wound. So it just falls into place of where we're going.
Yeah. But there is kind of a tragedy there. I mean, there's a lot of Christian men out there who think that this control is leadership, or at least part of leadership.
Yeah,
that's not the truth, and it can come from this father wound we've been talking about.
No, and Jesus provides a clear example, which we'll talk about in a little bit, of what it should be.
He's the model.
He's the model,
right?
Yeah. And that's the question: if dominance isn't leadership, what is? What is that model?
Yeah.
And why have men struggled with this distinction of dominance versus Jesus method for years? Years and years.
Yeah.
This isn't something new that's there's nothing new under the sun.
No, for sure. But it's something that needs to be drawn out.
Yeah.
It needs to be talked about, because we bump shoulders with people every day who carry this with them. And there's this, I'm going to control this, in sense of their leadership. And I think, it filters into their marriage, their parenting, and other areas of life. The guy who has to win every argument, the one who leads his family like a CEO leads a business, and wonders why, nobody's following him voluntarily, right? It's kind of a talk to me about what's actually happening underneath of that.
Yeah, it's the trigger.
It's kind of what we're asking our audience to do. Let's talk about the trigger here.
Let's go a little deeper.
There's a distinction, I think. Dominance says, I'm above you, right? Yeah. Leadership says, I'm with you. So that's a big difference. Am I above you, or am I with you?
Yeah.
Dominance demands submission. Like, you need to submit to me. You need to do this because I told you to do it. Leadership earns followership.
Earns permission.
It earns permission, right? I would even say too, they can look similar from the outside. For someone like you and I who have been in leadership for a long time, we can see it pretty blatant.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can, but there is a sense too in which, when you're looking at leadership and the way that different people do it, sometimes it does look pretty similar.
It does, from a distance.
From a distance, but when you get up close, you can draw.
Yeah, our wives can probably tell the difference in about 3 seconds if we're being dominant versus leading like Jesus.
There are things dominant fathers do, right? Like, dominant fathers still prays before meals.
That's common between the two.
Yeah, but that would be common, right? Dominant man still reads scripture to his kids, right? Leader does the same thing.
Yep.
But there's a heart difference. One's performing, authority. The other one would be stewarding it.
Wanting more for than from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And those closest to you, your wife, your children, they can spot this difference in less than 30 seconds.
I don't know about your wife, but mine does 3 and under. She's really got this down really well.
Yeah.
It's like, Bill,
are you leading this family, or are you driving this family? Well, you talk a lot about that, the cowboy analogy.
Yeah.
Are you driving the cattle, right?
Jesus is the great shepherd, not the great cowboy.
Right. Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a phenomenal word picture for what Jesus does. So, the father wound teaches a boy that power it's safe. It creates the walls. If you take control, I have power. I can create the control I need to bring the safety I need, right?
If you're not in control, you're in danger.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then grow up, get married, have kids, and then you just kind of repeat the process.
That same boy begins to repeat that process.
Yeah, you get a pattern of behavior because that dominance eventually will create the next father wound if it's not taken care of.
Yeah,
so
that's a good analogy.
So control is dominance inside the home. Dominance is control that works out the front door. Same wound, different room.
Yeah, it walks right out the front door.
Yeah, it goes wherever you go.
Yeah.
So it just carries you carry your atmosphere with you.
So the difference between that control and dominance, like we talked about, the control, I think was the last episode. So control versus responsibility.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So the control is kind of the dominance kind of inside the home, but dominance itself, that's the control that kind of walks right out the front door. It goes with you. But the same father wound can be responsible for these things. That's kind of what we're linking back to.
So, and you can be confused that, hey, isn't there a version of this where this is competence? Or isn't this just confidence, right? Some men are just naturally assertive. Isn't that okay? But is that dominance or not? I think part of that is a work between that man and the Holy Spirit, where you're being convicted and where he's leading in that regard. But I think the difference is what happens when someone says no, right? How well do you take the answer no, where you can't be in control? A confident man doesn't get angry. He doesn't lose control. He doesn't crumble when he's challenged. So a dominant man, he just can't tolerate it. It's like, no. This is it. I'm asserting this control here, this dominance here. There needs to be compliance. Right, and that's the dominant man. In leadership, it doesn't do that. The way Jesus led, anyway.
No, it doesn't.
So if you can't handle someone disagreeing with you,
that's
maybe, just maybe, pray about it, let the Holy Spirit work in through that and help you answer that question. But maybe that might be a sign that they are leveraging dominance and not leadership the way Jesus did. So,
so there's a few symptoms.
They are.
I think we should call out in this episode. I mean, you're talking about. Well, let's just give the first symptom, and you and I can flesh it out.
Yeah, go for it.
Symptom 1: you can't be second. So, and these are symptoms of
being dominant. Right.
Potentially, as we're talking about, because there's a wound that hasn't been addressed and walked through.
Yeah, and we don't know your whole story.
We don't know your whole story, but
these are just some
things
possible symptoms to consider.
And one of that first one that we have chosen for this episode is you can't be second. Meaning, if you walk into a room, right, and you need to know who's in charge, and it needs to be you.
Yeah,
that's not leadership, right? That's
or if you walk in the room and go, "Here I am." Ta-da!
Yeah.
Or do you walk in the room and go, "Oh, there you are."
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Yep.
In part. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, dominance does the former.
Yeah.
Leaders, will come in the room and look for others to uplift.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's I think too, different shows up in how you treat the man who is better than you at something. Ooh. Like I'm competitive, right? So I compete with a lot of different things. I compete with anything from mini golf to paper football across the table, right? You want to win. That's a silly analogy, but if you carry that spirit into how you lead other people,
right,
or your ability to submit to leadership, right, or respond to someone who is above you and in charge.
Yeah.
If you have a hard time with that, or there's someone who gets a promotion and you don't, therefore you treat them with bitterness.
Right.
That's a dominant type of.
Isn't it part the distinction? I want to do my best versus I need to be the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
I think that's a pretty good, because a leader will celebrate that person who succeeds, right? A dominant man kind of has to diminish them.
I want more for, not from.
Yeah. I think that's the test. How you respond when another man is better than you at work, church, maybe even in your own home.
I've even watched people I've mentored get promoted up past me, And honestly, they had the skill set, personality, and giftedness to fill that upper position. I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Our Pastor Foe, does a great job of explaining this. And he uses the example you just used. He goes, I have people that I've discipled and mentored who have gone on to do things I could have never done. Never in a million years did I have the skill set and he has the proud dad moment or mentor moment of saying, I got to mentor this person. And now they're running multi-million-dollar businesses and things of that nature.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing to be able to witness. And like again, you and I have done the same thing. Been part of someone's journey, mentored them, and then watch them succeed in areas. And you can either be jealous of that or upset and want to compete with that or diminish that, or you can celebrate the fact that, hey, man, you are actually part of that journey.
Yeah, and if we're leading like Jesus leads, then we enjoy being the audience and watching the other people grow. Yeah.
So that would be symptom number one in my mind. Is you can't be second. But give us the second symptom.
Yeah, the second symptom that we discussed is leading through fear and not invitation. Right? We're just pushing. We make people afraid.
Yeah.
So here's the big question: if you have children, dads, do they obey you because they love and respect you, or because they're afraid?
That's a great question.
There needs to be a fear, a respect of authority.
There's a difference between healthy respect and then a unhealthy fear.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then if they're afraid of you, are they coming to you when they fail for help? Or with their struggles or their questions, or are they hiding it because they're afraid of you?
Yeah.
So again, not everyone has, between you and the Lord, what symptoms. These are just some that Jared and I wanted to bring to the surface to ask.
But the key is, with that example of your children, even if you don't have children, you can see that this point here that this leads to is that dominance creates distance.
Exactly.
So if you're looking at, if I'm looking at my kids and they're not coming to me when they fail, I'm not their first phone call or what have you, I need to look at how I'm parenting, how I'm leading them, because I don't want to create distance, right? Leadership creates safety for people.
Yeah, and if you're creating that distance, you're kind of losing the heart of the child or the person you're overseeing.
Yeah. And truth of the matter is, you can have a perfectly ordered home and be losing the hearts of your children.
Yeah.
So I think dominance looks orderly from a distance.
But when you put it under a microscope, when, the word of the Lord, divines the intentions of the heart,
Exactly.
Hebrews. Yeah.
And then you got symptom 3, you confuse position with influence, right? I mean, a lot of Christian men even think, I'm the head of this household, right? And they think that means I get the final say, or you must do what I say, right? But that's not headship. That's not the headship that the Bible talks about, right? That's what dominance is. That's what dominance means, right? Jesus is the head of the church, and yet he washed the feet of his disciples, right? He didn't walk into the upper room and be like, okay, I'm sitting here because I'm the best, right? He looked for the towel, right? And I think if your leadership looks more like a throne than a towel, then that's not what Jesus demonstrates for us, right? That would be the wound that you have talking. And in Jesus, again, I'll say this again, if your leadership looks more like a throne than a towel, that's not what Jesus demonstrated for us. Jesus gave up his throne temporarily to lead people. And he did so with authority that came through servanthood of others, serving other people. So I think position gives you authority on paper. Servanthood leadership gives you opportunity to influence people.
Yeah, John Maxwell writes about this in one of his books. He's one of my favorite leadership authors. And 5 levels of leadership. And level 1 is you're a leader because you got the title, you got the position, and that's it. Level 2 is you got the permission, because it goes back to that old saying, you've probably heard it, people don't care how much you know.
Till they know how much you care.
Exactly. So, and then demonstrating the caring gives you the permission to speak and lead in people's lives. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
It's funny how we come back talking about leadership, Well,
with a role as being a biblical man, I mean,
you're called to lead.
We are called to lead.
Yeah.
It's the scope of our leadership, whether that's in the home, in the church, in the business world, in the volunteer organization, will vary person to person, right?
And again, we're hoping that by tackling this father wound that so many men have, that wall or that barrier can be taken down.
Yes.
And your leadership is able to cross that precipice into something that's even more influential and healthy. I think that's kind of the goal here.
And we say this a lot at work, and I fully believe it, is that leaders lead no matter what job title they have, because it's more about character than anything.
For sure. 100%.
And having biblical character, it makes you the best leader if we lead like Jesus.
Yeah.
So we got two passages we're going to touch base on. Two passages, one contrast, and one model, so to speak. So Philippians 2, 5 through 8. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was born in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant. Yeah. So servanthood leadership, we've been hinting at it, and we've talked about it before on this podcast.
Yeah.
But it's the hinge here. Paul says Jesus had all the authority in the universe.
Yeah.
He could have made anybody do anything. But he let go of that authority, came in the form of a human.
He didn't cling to that position.
Didn't cling to it, and he emptied himself and just took that form of a servant.
Yeah. And I would say, take this thought that Paul shares with us about this, letting go of emptying himself and taking the form of a servant, and compare and contrast that to how you lead. Or even how most Christian men lead, and we do we cling to position? Do we fill ourselves with authority? Do we take the form of a boss, right? And then do we call that biblical? Yeah. Do we call that biblical? Yeah. Paul says, have the same mind as Christ and let that go.
Which is easier said than done, at least for me. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is Paul, doesn't say Jesus stop being God, right? He says he didn't exploit his position.
Yeah.
He had every right to demand submission. He chose servanthood leadership instead.
He withheld power, right, and served instead of exercising that dominance that we've been talking about. He laid it down.
Yeah.
So, and then we get over to what, John 13?
Yeah. I mean, John 13, you got the disciples are arguing about who's the greatest. And again, Jesus doesn't lecture them, or he stands up, he takes off his outer garments and he puts on a towel and begins to wash their feet and giving us this example. And I think, well, you could say it like this. If those of you guys out there, right, who are married, right, if your wife can't picture you washing feet, not literally, but in posture, then you're not leading like Jesus. Right. And that's kind of you would be leading like the world at that point. And the world's version of leadership is dominance dressed up in a suit, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. We've talked about this exact passage before, but again, this would be the Christ-like example. Yeah. And this would be what we need to always be saying to ourselves. Does my attitude in the home, does my attitude at work, do I serve like Jesus does to then influence and lead people, or do I come across as dominant and demand submission from people?
And I don't think we get there by trying harder.
Nope.
I think we get there by making sure this branch stays connected to the vine, that the word yield comes to mind. Are we yielding over day by day to his control and authority to work in our lives? Ministering through the overflow, as Pastor Foad likes to say.
100%. And I think going back and looking at these, do I have these symptoms? Can I be second in the room, right? Or, am I leading through fear? Am I confusing position with influence? Does my life look like Christ's in this area? This is a way to say, again, if the answer to those questions isn't where it needs to be, perhaps there is a wound there that we haven't gone back and addressed. That's the father wound, again, that we've been talking about since day one on this series. Right.
And maybe there's we've been focused on the father wound for this series, but maybe there's a different type of wound that you need to address as well. It's not solely about the father wound by itself. It's about what's the result of the wound and what are we doing with it, whatever that wound is. Are we submitting it and growing through it and let the Holy Spirit clean it out so that it heals properly?
And like you said, this gets healed by looking at Jesus. I mean, if you look at the 4 episodes that we've done, you've got the wound, the anger, the control, and now the dominance. Every single one of these gets healed the same way, and that's by looking at Christ. Right? He wasn't controlled by a wound. He wasn't ruled by anger. He didn't control anyone, and he didn't dominate anyone. He led, and the only way he led was through servanthood.
And maybe this may be a bit of a stretch. I don't think so, but I've been working in my own life with the question, God, what do you want me to do? When something comes my way, I'm like, okay, God, just what do you want me to do? And subconsciously, I think I'm going, Lord, how quickly can I move through this? Let me get this off my plate. Let me do the checklists.
Yeah.
And then it comes back to the question, Bill, don't ask God, what do you want me to do? Instead, God, what do you want for me? Mm-hmm. Right? Well, how do I want you to grow through this?
Yeah.
And maybe dealing and growing through a wound is just right where you are right now.
Yeah. And the father wound taught or teaches people, right? The father wound can teaches people that vulnerability is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not. It teaches you that anger becomes your armor. Shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be that way. The father wound control became your strategy. Shouldn't be. Dominance became your identity.
Ooh.
It's not.
Yeah.
Every single level of this stack, right? The wound, the anger, the control, the dominance gets healed the same way. Looking at Jesus, accepting that there's something there that he needs to heal, dealing with it in that way, giving it to him, working through it, getting the help that we need to move through it, and then doing what he did. He felt the wound. He didn't let it define who he was. He felt anger, and it didn't always end in healing. He held all authority, never used it to control anyone. He could have dominated the entire world, and he washed feet instead. Yeah. This is the difference between, I think, a good man and a godly man. Good men manage these symptoms. Godly men go to the source. And what are we going to do as men when we have these types of wounds? Are we going to let it dictate our entire future?
Right.
Are we going to let it run our life, run our marriage, run our parenting, or are we going to deal with it in such a way that the Lord really does soften our hearts to understand He cares enough to call us out and to heal us at the same time?
And dealing with the wound is easier said than done without Jesus.
Absolutely it is.
But with Jesus, all things are possible.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks, 4 episodes.
Not consistently.
Not consistent weeks, but we got 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Which one hit you the hardest? Was it the father wound, the anger, the control, the dominance? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Definitely.
Yeah, and if you missed any of these episodes, I'll put a link in the description for the entire playlist. You can watch all 4 if you like.
Start back in episode 1. Let them build on each other.
Yeah, and drop a comment. Don't share more details than you're comfortable to share on the internet, but let us know how we can be praying for you. We'd love to do that.
And if you can like and share and subscribe, that would help growing content creators like us.
We reach more people for Christ.
We would love it.
Yeah. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.